Hey nerds, in this video Nathan and I review and do a spoiler breakdown of the season finale of The Last of Us, episode 9, titled Look for the Light, written by Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin, directed by Ali Abbasi. Starting now. Welcome to the Nerd Social. I'm John.
And I'm Nathan.
Hey nerds, this is the finale. There is no spoiler-free summary logline for this revealed to us yet, but we all know it's the last episode of the season, the very first season of The Last of Us. Nathan, we're going to get right into the spoiler-free review. What did you think of this episode?
It was shocking. I mean, if you haven't played the game, it was shocking. I was a little bit spoiled for me what was going to happen at the end. I think we talked about this the last time we reviewed it. Because we do these reviews, I did do a little bit of research. I sort of knew what was going to happen, but it was still shocking. The ending. It was a good episode. It was also a pretty short episode as well. There wasn't. I don't know what the runtime is off the top of my head, but I don't think it was an hour.
Yeah, I think it was about 40 minutes. I think. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it was a short episode, but it made sense based upon what preceded it. A lot of people might not like what happened. I don't really like what happened, and we can actually talk about the specifics of what happened when we get into the spoiler breakdown. Now, not liking what happened or not liking what characters decide doesn't mean that the show is bad, especially if it's written well enough so you understand that those are the only choices that they could make. And I think that they did a really good job this entire season, setting this up so that this is the logical conclusion to what was going to happen, given the circumstances that arise in this episode. And I'm talking very, very vague because I'm trying to avoid spoiling the episode if you haven't seen it yet. But yeah, it was a good episode. I think I would, on our 10-point scale, I'd give it a road trip, which is an 8 out of 10.
Okay. Yeah. That's funny. I also give it an 8 as well. It's this episode takes place after the very intense previous episode that we all saw, and definitely follows up on it. It doesn't. I don't think it shies away from what we all expect should be kind of taking place afterwards from an episode like that. And then finally, the events that occur in this episode and some of the decisions made by characters, that's where a lot of controversy we are expecting. Even Bella Ramsay, she also believed the same thing as well. It follows very closely to the game, maybe not portrayed exactly the same, but very similarly. So even the game was controversial, the ending there as well. So we'll love to see how people talk about this. The way it ends and how it really sets up for next season as well. So all in all, still a very good episode, very intense. Great acting again by everyone in the episode, especially Joel, especially Pedro Pascal, Bella Ramsay, Merle Dandridge in it as well, and we also get another cameo from the game, and I think that's a nice treat for everyone who are gamers, following all the different voice actors that have had cameos in this series as well. So again, another good finish. All in all, I think it was a great season. So I think everyone should walk away with something really good from this episode as well. Again, I think it brings it to a satisfying conclusion. Maybe not satisfying to some people, but I thought it was fairly satisfying. The writer Neil Druckmann, who decided on this ending, even in the game as well, doesn't pull any punches. He doesn't shy away from the story he wants to tell, and he's stuck with it. So let's see what everyone else thinks. Nathan, any other thoughts?
Yeah, I can't really talk about the other actors in this episode because that'd be spoilers. But as you said, Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsay do a really great job in this episode. The ending was shocking. And I'm really interested to see what the chatter is, especially with people who didn't know what was going to happen. the chatter is about this, about decisions made by characters, and how it ended, and whether or not, given how it ended, people will show up for season 2, because we this is what we do. I also researched that as well. So there's some things coming at the beginning that would come at the beginning of season 2 would also annoy people. So so we'll see how they take this, and then we'll see if they show up for season 2 and how they react to that as well.
See, it's a treat for me because people who have not played the game and they're watching this series, it's almost like the way the chatter was 12 years ago, when people were getting to the end of the game and the decisions or the way the story concludes. There was definitely controversy then, and I'm sure a lot of chatter will be very similar now after people watch this ending. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into the spoiler talk. But before we do, audience, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It'll help us out with our algorithms, and it'll also allow us to bring you more content of what you would like to see as well. So thank you for that, and like and subscribe. All right, let's do spoiler alert. Shall we talk about the flashback at the beginning of this episode?
Ellie from the game shows up in the flashback. Yeah. She shows up as Ellie from the show's mother,
Ashley Johnson.
So yeah. Of course, she would have been too old to play her in the show, but she shows up as her mom. So you get a flashback of how, I mean, they don't really explain it, but you get a sense of what happened. Like she tells Marlene that she cut it before the umbilical cord before she was bitten, but she obviously did not. So some part of the virus got to Ellie, but I don't know if it wasn't enough to kill her, or there's something that is part of mother's milk called like colostrum, that I don't know if she nursed her. The colostrum from mother's milk has a lot of like nutrients and antibacterial things that are like boosted to extreme degrees to safeguard the baby. So maybe even if she was infected, she would have gotten like an ultra dose of antibacterial stuff. So maybe that is why she didn't change, and she was able to fight off the virus, or at least to stop it. So yeah, we see that it's a very harrowing scene. Like she's having birth in the middle of being attacked by an infected. So yeah, and then she gets her friend to promise to take care of the child and also shoot her. And her friend once says okay to the first thing, but she's very reluctant about the second thing. So yeah, it's a very interesting, especially when we circle back around to it, when we see Marlene again at the end of the episode, and Joel thinks that he has a monopoly on caring for Ellie, and Marlene is like, yeah, I was there at her birth. Yeah. That is the child of my best friend, because you also get a little bit of backstory in that they had been friends for their entire lives, right, or something like that. Correct. So this is why she paused a bit before she killed her. I don't discount that Joel cares for Ellie. He kind of selfishly calculates that he cares for Ellie more than anyone else. He's extending the love that he had for his daughter onto Ellie instead of having separate feelings for Ellie. I think that he's still dealing with his trauma, and he just doesn't want to lose another daughter.
Absolutely,
because it's not a logical decision. As Marlene says, this is a terrible world. She's going to die, probably a horrible death. Yeah, if not infected, and maybe by an infected tearing her apart. I mean, it's also Marlene's fault, because she should have had this conversation with him after the surgery. She shouldn't have let him wake up. Yeah, she should have let him wake up, because they used the flashbangs to I assume that they did that on the assumption that They needed to knock him out because if he knew what was going to happen, he wouldn't have let it go forward. If you know that, tell him after the surgery. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if he already had a reputation of, everybody already being afraid of him, knowing about him, especially Marlene knowing about him, why on earth did she even give him a shot? And in any way, despite the fact having 2 or 3 guards on him, thinking that was going to be enough. I mean, surely he would have had enough of a reputation, right? That's not enough.
she's like, it's a miracle that you guys got across the country by yourselves with just the 2 of you.
Yeah.
I had 5 people protecting me, and they nearly died. So he's very skilled. So she only sends him off with these 2 people.
Yeah.
It's
not enough. Come on.
It's not enough. So,
or you should have winged him while you had a chance, right?
In his defense, in her defense, he might not. In her defense, she might not have understood the depth of the bond that they developed in the life and death situations that they had. She also is very unlikely to actually know that Joel has a daughter who died. Mm-hmm. So it's like we have a lot more information than she does.
Correct.
Because I doubt he talks about his dead daughter to anyone besides maybe Tess and of course Tommy because he was there. Correct. Maybe even Tess didn't know. I don't know because he seemed to shut off his emotions after that and just became super brutal. So I think I remember someone saying that Tess had like children in the game that she lost or something like that. I don't remember.
If she did, I don't recall that reference at all.
Yeah, so I don't even. He wouldn't even really open his heart to like being in a real relationship to Tess. So I don't know that she knew that he had a daughter. So I know Marlene doesn't know.
Yeah.
So maybe that wasn't part of her calculation that he was going to attach to her and basically transfer his feelings for his daughter onto Ellie. He has some intense unresolved things. And it's written. The season was written very well. You can see from the beginning, like he from the scene in the first episode when he beats up that guard, beats him to death. Mm-hmm. When the scenario is very similar. Sorry, it was the first or second episode. I think it was the first episode. When he beats up that guard, where the scenario was very similar to how his daughter died, when he kind of goes into like a fugue state.
He saw red and just went nuts.
This is the only way that this could have ended. This is the only way they could have ended. Like as soon as he transferred his feelings for his daughter, whose name is escaping off the top of my head right
now.
Sarah. So once he transferred his feelings for Sarah to Ellie, there was no way he was gonna let anyone else let something happen to her. And they also seeded it in 2 episodes back when 2 or 3 episodes, 3 episodes back when he meets up with Tommy and he's having panic attacks because he's just, and he explains to Tommy later on in the episode, he's like, I keep having dreams that I'm going to fail. Yeah. I'm going to fail. It's going to happen again. I'm going to fail. I'm going to fail.
Fear of fail. Yeah. He won't be able to protect her like he did his daughter. Yeah. So with that fear, he turned it into, I think I said in the last video, he went into Terminator mode in that last episode. Boy, did he really go into Terminator mode in this episode.
It's like blind rage. It's like he's killing so many people. And I understand in his head, he has to kill them because they will come after her. But I feel like only Marlene is going to come after her. Like the only one that makes sense, sort of, is Marlene because she's trying to save the world. So yes, she's going to come after her. But like he killed pretty much everyone except for 2 nurses.
I think he killed
everyone.
How many were there? There were like so many guys that he just killed off here and there, starting with the 2 guards that were on him, right?
These people did not have to die, but he was like he would go back and make sure they were dead. It's like they did a personal offense towards him as opposed to like doing their job.
So the only difference I can say, and again following the game and doing a comparison there, While you are doing some shootouts with some of the guys, it's definitely not to this level where, again, it just looks like a one-man killing machine. That's how it was portrayed to me in the show. Whereas in the game, it just looks like you've got a couple shootouts going, and you're trying to take the guys out, and you're trying to get to Ellie. And even that scene, and we can talk about that too, when he gets to the doctor, the surgeon that was there, he quickly took him out. It was a little bit more drawn out in the game. And Marlene is actually in the room.
He kills her in the room.
Yeah.
Right? So does the doctor in the game say, "I won't let you take her," and get shot?
He says a couple lines. I can't remember exactly what he says, but he does try to stop him, but not to the degree that I remember that's in the episode. So, but he is present and he is taken out as well in the game, and So that, but I want to just kind of go back a little bit, going back to Ashley Johnson. So we know of her as doing the voice of oh my goodness, I forget her name already on Vox Machina, the gnome. She does her voice, so she's a pretty prolific voice actor, and some of the acting stuff that she had a really tiny bit part in Avengers. I don't know if you remember. Towards the end, in the aftermath, they interviewed a diner waitress.
She was
right?
the waitress. Yeah.
So I do remember it because she had even in her young career, I remember her face on a couple things that she's done. Again, just a lot of character acting is what she's has on her resume, along with voice acting too. But so she was. It was a nice treat to see her there. Even when she talks, I can hear Ellie from the game. I mean, it's very obvious. Troy Baker, going back real quick to the last episode, his voice, to me, in other things that he's done, doesn't sound like Joel, but when he's actually talking, even as James in that last episode, it's very obvious that he's Joel. That's Joel's voice from the video game. But anyways, so I want to talk about real quick one scene that a lot of people who had finished the game or played the game that they were looking forward to, even I was looking forward to, was the giraffe scene. Right, so they get to the scene where it's a very beautiful moment.
The giraffe is at the end of the movie. Sorry, at the end of the game.
It is in the game. Yep, the giraffe is in the game.
It's at the end of the game, or is it or before the shootout?
It's before the shootout. So they lead up to. Okay. So they finally get to, where was this? Was this Seattle? They got to, I think, is where it was.
I forget what city.
Yeah, I can't remember what city.
We watched this like a week or so ago. So
they finally get to the destination of where they think the Fireflies are going to be. And then, but they're going through an abandoned building, and they come upon a clearing or a big hole in the wall. And Joel, throughout that, so in the game, one of the ways that you learn about all the backstories and you get closer to the characters is as you're playing Joel, the banter that they have back and forth with each other. Ellie's constantly telling her, joke puns and stuff.
Her puns, yeah.
So it's very endearing as you play throughout the game. It keeps it from being boring. Then just you got a character going from one level or building or opening and fighting and shooting. They have this banter that's constantly going on. In this part of the game, just like the TV show, she's not really talking. She's not talking, and it's very clear she's not talking, and it's very obvious she's still suffering or traumatized from the previous events of the previous episode, right? And so here you have,
she definitely is.
Yeah, and you have Joel trying to constantly cheer her up, right? So what did you think of all those moments between the two?
Yeah, the beginning of this episode started really great. I mean, like I said, it's just the episode is good. The episode is even great in parts. It's just like I can't abide Joe's choice. It was a super selfish choice, but the beginning of it was very sweet to see him trying to comfort her, or trying to get her through her trauma, and the best way that he knew how. Her just being despondent, and him making jokes about, I found some explosives, and then he actually comes around before they're attacked by the Fireflies. He lets her know, lets her in even more, and says, the person who tried to shoot me was me, right? I tried to kill I tried to kill myself, and I flinched, and I missed. So yeah, that him opening up to her is like the full transformation over to completely letting her in, and trying to protect her and trying to show her that there's a future for her, which again leads to like the inevitable end. Like he's not going to let that person who he has had walls up for 20 something years now. He's not going to let that person the only person he's let in go.
Yeah.
I don't think it's healthy, but it's, again, regardless of whether or not you agree with a character's decision, if it's written well enough that you can understand it, I think it's good writing, and you can understand it just based upon how all the beats.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, even last week, I mean, her saving his life, like he would be dead. He would be dead, and what he made it made sense to him.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense to most people, given the stakes. And it wouldn't have, and the other thing that Marlene says is that this is the choice that she would make. I think Ellie would have made the choice to sacrifice herself, because whereas he wants a replacement for his daughter, Ellie has been clear in every episode that she wants to be a hero. She wants to make sense of the death of her friend, like it had to be for something, right?
Yeah.
So she definitely would have wanted to go out there like a hero, if he didn't take that choice from her.
Yeah.
But he decided that he wanted a daughter, and that was more important than basically the world.
So I think that's where the show and the game, Neil Druckmann, brought a lot of tension and focus on, were from those perspectives. These two characters where you have Joel clearly, obviously in the game you play as him, in the show you see the different perspectives, but you definitely see Joel's motivations, his trauma, what he's gone through to lead him to make that decision in this episode. And Ellie, same thing, the way she's brought up, what she's gone through, the awful experiences leading her to the point where she is, as we saw when they finally do, after all of this, he saves her, or he basically shoots everybody out and takes her out of there. They reach Wyoming, and before they get into back to the complex where Tommy is, she asks him and says, tell me the truth. Is everything that you told me, was that the truth, right? Because her choice, it sounds like, would have been, she would have sacrificed herself.
Yeah. I don't even think that when he says yes, she believes him.
I don't think so at all.
But I think that she accepts that that's what all he can tell or all he can say to her. Like I don't think she would have asked the question if she didn't question his story. And I don't think his answer was satisfying to her.
No,
I just don't. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he did a very good job of hiding or lying. It was an awful lying job. In the car, he did it, and when he's even saying it, that's exactly how it happened. Right. And then, of course, the whole time, because the camera's focusing only on her face, and that's how the episode ends, I think we're all led to believe that, she doesn't buy it one bit. Not one bit at all.
And I don't know, like, they don't tell you whether or not she was told what the situation was. You get the sense that, actually that's not true. Marlene said that she wasn't told anything to make her scared. I feel like she should have told her. I think that would have maybe given Joel pause, but maybe it wouldn't have. He just would have said, "Oh, she's just a child. She can't make that decision," because she's supposed to be 14 here, right? I mean, Bella Ramsey is 19, but she's supposed to be 14
or 15, something like that. Yeah.
Right. I don't know. Like
So if you remember, he even tried to do a last-ditch effort to try to convince her, look, Ellie, we don't have to go there. So this was in the giraffe scene, right? When they're see that giraffe, a nice pretty moment, and they're feeding the giraffe. And he's like, we don't have to move on. We don't have to do this.
Right.
And she's like, we're doing this. We're absolutely doing this.
More evidence that she would have said yes if she had been given the choice. She wanted to be a hero. She's like, she said this has to be for something. Why do we go through all of this if it wasn't for something?
Correct.
and he took that choice away from
Yeah.
her. So I don't know.
So,
I
so with that, it ended, and we know that they're back in Wyoming, at least on the outskirts of the town. Nathan, what did you think overall on the season?
I think it was a great season. It was a really good, thought-provoking show. I think some people are complaining that you don't get as much zombies as you expect in an apocalyptic show that's the apocalypse is based around zombies. But like, this wasn't trying to be The Walking Dead. It was trying to be a very human
Yeah.
drama and talk about lots of different things around love and the good parts and also the bad parts of love, and it demonstrating the bad parts of love. The showrunners try to press that cordyceps loves. I don't know, regardless of whether or not what their intentions are there. I don't know if that's communicated well enough for me to make that leap. I understand their intentions, but as audience members, we can interpret art however we want. I do think that they communicate very well the bad portions of love when we're talking about Joel, though.
Yes.
Like so love is not necessarily a net good when taken to weird extremes where your love is more important than anything else in the world, as we have with Joel. So yeah, I think that they demonstrated that very well.
Yeah, I think the season overall for this show was very successful. I think everyone will agree it's a great adaptation of a video game, probably one of the finest that's been done for a video game, and it definitely
Mm-hmm.
sets a new bar. I think a very high bar for a video game adaptation into a TV series. I think very consciously, and I've seen some articles that kind of point this out. Very consciously, they tried to be very different from The Walking Dead, and I think
Mm-hmm.
they succeeded on most counts to be able to do that. And the other thing that I loved about this season, they incorporated or added in a lot of new scenes that are not found in the video game, and that made it much more interesting. Filled in some backstory that we didn't have, that were pointing to just some very vague references that were in the game, and I thought it was very successful in doing it. Particularly the Bill and Frank story. We also have some of the cold openings where you have the John Hannah opening in the very first episode, and also the Indonesia opening, and then even here with Ellie's mom. Now that one was the only one that I think that I thought was kind of unnecessary. They just kind of pigeonholed that in there just to make sure that Ashley Johnson got a part. But overall, I thought it was still
Well,
successful.
I think that served a couple purposes, right? You humanize Marlene and her perspective a little bit more from that scene as well. So like it was obviously shoehorned in there to get that actor in the
Yeah.
show, but it also served a part because we have had spent more time with Marlene, and and you really empathize with her perspective, even though you haven't been following her for the entire season. Just with that scene, what she had to do to her friend, who was probably just as dear to her as Riley was to Ellie, right? Their relationship wasn't cut off. They got to live a life together as friends, and then she had to do what Ellie had to do to Riley, basically. So you see the parallels there in their relationship. I think that's the value of that scene. But yeah, I think the Ellie Riley episode, speaking of that, was really great as well. All those one-off episodes, which weren't part of the
Yep.
game, or if they were part of the game, were part of the game in a different
Yep.
incarnation.
Yep.
Like the Bill
Bill and Frank.
Frank
Hmm.
Bill and
Yep.
Frank was completely different in the game. The Ellie stuff was a separate DLC.
Yes.
I think pulling those elements in and weaving them into the story makes the end make more sense. Makes Ellie's choice to stay and um, help Joel make more sense. He might have again misinterpreted it as a daughter helping, but I think that she really thinks of him as a comrade more so than a father, because she doesn't. I don't feel like she needs it's not. I don't get a sense from any of the episodes that she like is longing for parental, what you call it. She's longing for friendship. She's longing for like a comrade in arms. She definitely looks up to authority figures, as some people that she can emulate, because we get a sense of that in the Riley Ellie episode, with the drill instructor or whatever the guy is, like that was trying to kind of getting in her head and saying that saying that you could be a leader. The guy David in the previous episode, like there were like when they were around the fire, there were parts that were getting to her again because he was like a leader. So that's what she wants to be. She wanted to be a leader. She wanted to be a hero. So that's how I think she was connecting with Joel, and Joel thinks that she was connecting with him as a daughter, which,
Well, certainly he was seeing it that way. And so again, this whole season, definitely a great showcase of Pedro Pascal again, in yet another series where he gets to play a parental figure trying to save someone younger. And at I think we've seen plenty of memes making fun of that, and which is very, very true. It's dead on. And then Bella Ramsey, wow, I thought she did fabulous the whole season.
She did an exceptional job.
So I hope she gets more. I'm looking forward to more things from her. Definitely, of course, the next season as well. And and Pedro Pascal, he's on a roll. He's on an absolute roll. This is his time right now. He's definitely showing up in a lot of places, and good for him.
I saw an image. We were running a little late, so I just closed it. I saw an image of Q1 report for streaming services with Pedro Pascal's face on like a bodybuilder, and they just had Disney and Warner Brothers on both sides, like giant weights that he's carrying both of these streaming services, basically Disney and HBO Max.
I find it fascinating for people like Pedro Pascal, who just, who wasn't very widely known before The Mandalorian, and certainly I know his stock was rising for
the Oberyn Martell thing was even though he was there for a very short time, he made a big impression. With that
and then you just put it all together with 3 genre type series, and all of a sudden he is just all over the place now. So it's nice to see. He seems to be a genuinely good guy as well. So I think audiences are definitely pulling for him. So good for him.
He seems like all the rough people he plays. You see an interview with him. He's such a jokester, like nice person. So more good things for him.
Absolutely. I recently, my wife and I saw the Hot Ones episode with him in it, and his personality, or at least it seems to really come through there. Seems to be again a genuinely nice guy. So good for him.
So which also speaks to the fact that he's actually acting. Like he's not as stern in real life as he plays in several.
There was a line where he said, so I'm looking at, when he's talking about the Mandalorian, he says, so I'm looking at this puppet. This puppet is what's making me cry. So that was hilarious to see that. So he's definitely giving credit even to his co-star there, who asked me Grogu, a puppet. Right. Well, that brings us to the end of this video for the finale and really a season recap of The Last of Us. We're looking forward to season 2 of The Last of Us. Thank you all for joining, and until next time, goodbye.